My journal lineup for 2025 consists of 11 different notebooks, so I often get questions like, how do you keep up with that many? How do you use all of those? So in this video, we're going to have a look at how I use my journals across the span of a week. Some of them get used every single day, while some of them only get used when they're needed. But a week in my journals actually starts the day before the week. I like to be able to hit the ground running at the start of any given week, so I need to have my weekly set up for the week ahead. If we flip to the current page that I'm working on, you can see I have a teeny tiny little bit of space left for Sunday, which is good because Sunday isn't quite over and I still have a couple of things to write down. And then flipping over onto the next page, I have put in a piece of PET tape to decorate the layout, but this is where I'm going to start building my weekly dashboard. I call it a dashboard more than I call it a log, mainly because I only set it up at the start of the week. I don't really come and add a lot of information throughout the week. And if we flip back, you can kind of see what I mean by this. So I set up a section for priorities for the week, set up a section for the meals that I'm going to be consuming. Yes, there is a checkbox to say whether I ate them, but it's not really me logging what my meals are. It's more like tracking that I actually ate what I planned. I also include a routine tracker, or what some people would call a habit tracker. And then for week 1, I also included a migration list, mainly so I could bring any tasks that weren't finished from my last journal into my new one. This time around, I probably won't need that, but I will need the other 3 sections. And to put those ones in, we're just going to be using little sticker headers. These ones I just typed up in Microsoft Word and then printed them off on sticker paper, so I don't have to get out a glue stick and stick them in or anything like that. And we've got the one for the header, the one for the routines, priorities, and meals. I appreciate the sticker headers for just giving me consistent lettering throughout the entire of the month. And it also makes my setup a little bit faster, because if I had to try and draw this kind of lettering in myself, it would certainly take me a while. Before I go put in the headers for routines and meals, which are going to go on this side, I'm just going to go and put in some second line highlights, mainly because I like them to line up on both sides, and I like the first line under the meals header to be a highlight. To do this, just turn the journal so it's in a comfortable position for my hand. I always like to draw these lines towards myself. And then to get these lines down on the page nice and straight, I effectively just hold my hand in a comfortable position, lock my wrist so it doesn't rotate or twist, and then drag my entire arm towards myself instead. To get these lines actually looking consistent though, it is very much a question of practice, and I still have lines that end up a little cattywampus, a little bit uneven. Oftentimes it's not so bad that it really bothers me, but I also make sure to use a light color of pen so that any of the inconsistencies aren't necessarily as noticeable as they would be with something a bit more punchy. Now as my lines are low enough to not interfere with this piece of decoration, I can go put the ones on this side across from that, just lining them up with the ones I already have. This is going to be the top line for my meals, and then we will need 3 more lines for a total of 7. Underneath this I'll also need a spot for routines, and I don't have many routines that I'm really wanting to track at the moment, so I'll just put in this many lines, maybe 1 more. The priorities I might end up going and adding more lines to if I need them, mainly because at this stage I'm not too sure what my priorities for the week are. I just want to have these sections set up in advance of Monday. Putting in the sticker headers for those sections, I also added some vertical highlights just down the right hand side of the meals space, and then 4 columns of highlights on the routines tracker. The highlights on the routines tracker are going to indicate the different days of the week, whereas the one on the meals space is just to check off what meals I end up having. I'm just going to put a dot down the left hand side of the meal space. This is where I'm going to write in the initial for each day of the week, and I'll also use this on the priorities list, but I don't know what priorities I'll have just yet, so I'm going to leave that blank for now. For routines, we can write in that these are the tasks that I'm keeping track of, and then the initials for each day of the week, and I can also go and add the initials to the meal space too. While my priorities I'm not going to fill in until tomorrow or Monday, the meal planning we have actually already done, so I can go fill those ones in. Ideally, I would like to have as much of this structure filled in before the week starts. It's just that at this stage, I hadn't really done a brain dump of what my priorities were going to be for the week ahead. I do always look over these on the Monday morning anyway to make sure I've added anything else that needs to be included, but starting the week with these sections filled in just means that I can hit the ground running. As for the other spaces on this layout though, those will get filled in tomorrow. Now as it's the start of Monday, we are officially starting the week in my journals, and I feel like I am in desperate need of just writing down a to-do list so I know what I need to get done this week. The first to-do list is going to be the priorities list though, so just noting down anything that feels like a priority for the week, whether that be something to attend, something to do, some kind of action that I need to take. I in particular want to make sure that I'm including goal action steps on here as well, because oftentimes I let this list fill up with just work priorities, and I'm trying to be a little bit better in terms of balance. So the first one we're going to put down is actually one of my side quests for the year, and that is writing my letter to myself for 2026. I meant to do this last week, but the latest I've ever written one of these letters is the 8th of January, and that is approaching, so need to make sure I action that one. After this though, it was just an opportunity to brainstorm anything and everything that I feel like is a priority for the week, a task in particular that I want to make sure I do this week and don't put off till next week. Some of these actually are carried over from last week. Just because they end up on this list doesn't necessarily mean they're going to happen, but it gives me a list of kind of like default tasks to do when I have any time in my week. A lot of these are for work, but as said, I did try and make it so that a chunk of them were related to goals or just fun things, and I have left myself a little bit of space down the bottom here. I'm probably going to go through my goal plans and see if there's anything I can pull out that I can action this week in particular. For now though, I need my daily list for Monday, so we're going to put in a little sticker header on the right hand side here, and then underneath that we're going to have more highlighted lines that line up with the ones we already have on the left hand side. While this list was for things that I want to do across the entire of the week, this one is really just for today. It does also end up becoming a kind of space to jot down any thoughts that I have. This is like the first touch space for any ideas I have, any tasks that I want to do, not necessarily today, but maybe at another point in time. I just put them in the daily log so that they're captured for safekeeping, and then when I do my migration process, I move them to anywhere that's going to be more suitable. For instance, my future me problems list or deferred missions, possibly into my future log if it's actually a future event, or in any other space in this journal or one of my other journals that makes more sense. You'll have seen I put a little dot at the top here. This is for what I call my daily highlight, where it's kind of like my main focus for the day, priority, something that is gonna pull the majority of my attention. And my main priority for today is video content. I like to set this one apart from the rest of my list by putting the little green dot and then also making it the very first thing on this list. Whereas the rest of the tasks down here, I also want to have them happen today. Some of them are actually an elaboration on the highlight for the day, but those ones just get started off with a regular bullet. Going in and writing down anything and everything I can think of that I want to get done today. Some of these are nested tasks, so you can see that the bullet is slightly indented to the right. This just means that I've taken a larger task and broken it into smaller steps. Helps make me feel like I'm making progress when I've only partially completed the work. We can also jot down the routines that I'm hoping to keep this week. So that is tracking my life admin RPG, which I'm just going to put down as track LARPG. So LA, life admin, RPG, roleplay game. I also want to track scheduling my days because that I know is helpful, but I haven't been doing it over the break period. Well, I say break period, I didn't really get like a solid break, but the general holiday period. We're also going to track daily logging before the internet because that's something I'm trying to work on, which I'm going to just put down as daily log first because this is a small space. And also no work in the evenings, which I'm just going to write down as no work post 6 p.m. because that's roughly when I want my cutoff point to be. Really the cutoff point is kind of dinner, but that'll hold for now. Throughout the day, I like to keep this journal open on my desk, or what I'll do is put the elastic here on this page so it's very easy to turn to this page, just so that if anything else pops up during the day, I can add it to my daily log. But our next main check-in will be in the evening. The main purpose of my evening check-in is to make sure that everything has been accounted for on my daily log, and also set up for the next day so that I can hit the ground running when it comes to my tasks in the morning. Yes, I will still add to that daily log when I get there, but it's nice to have the space set up in advance. The first thing to do though is check off anything that's already happened. So drying of the laundry is all done. Monica's flip through has been filmed and photographed, and the thumbnail has been made, so that one's all checked off. I still need to edit the video, but that wasn't on today's task list. I started adding emojis to our Discord channels, just the ones that didn't have them. And then in terms of the exclusive video, I did the outline, I did the filming, the editing is mostly done, but the rest of those steps haven't been finished. As I'm trying not to work in the evening, I'm not going to get them done today. That means that they will end up being tomorrow's tasks, but because this list is going to be right next to where I have my tomorrow daily log, I'm not going to rewrite those. I could, and some people would, but I'm not going to. In terms of the tasks at the bottom, we have finished the start of month population, which has not yet been done, but is definitely something I want to do. I have a couple of boxes here that need some attention. And then we also have updating my yearly collections journal, doing my buddy read pages, which is going to happen after filming this segment, and then a couple of other tasks. I want to get set up for tomorrow though, so we can add in the daily header, which is just another one of those little stickers. And then underneath this, I'll continue with my second line highlights. This month, the color that I'm using for those is Tombow 990. It's one of my favorite Tombows. It's a very nice pale brown. We need this elastic out of the way so that we can do that though, and just putting those in the same spot as I had the last ones. It's always a bit of a guessing game as to how many of these highlights I'm going to need on my daily logs, but normally I find I need more of them at the start of the week compared to the end. That's mainly because my start of weekdays are usually more productive, I usually get more done, compared to Thursday and Friday where my motivation has dipped a little bit, my energy is kind of waning, so having a larger section to fill in on a Tuesday does make sense for the amount of space I typically need. I don't necessarily want to set my highlight just yet, but I will put in the space for it, and then underneath this I can just write out a log of the different tasks that I want to do. At this stage it's just a brain dump of anything I think I might want to do tomorrow. It's not necessarily what ends up getting done, and I definitely will be adding to it when it comes to my morning check-in on Tuesday. The end of the day is also when I like to check in with my routines, so we can check off that I did not schedule my day, so check off in the sense I'll put a little black dot. I did do my daily log first, so I can give that a check mark. I have been tracking my life admin RPG points, and I can check off that there was no work past 6 p.m. For the purpose of this week, I'm not considering these check-ins to be work, mainly because it's just my regular journal use, but I'm running my mouth and filming it while I'm doing it. Because I won't be editing any of the footage at all, I'm not going to be doing anything extra in terms of my work, it is just filming these segments. I can also check off that we did have our Moroccan chicken for dinner. The chicken itself was quite nice, the veggie mix that went with it was interesting, needs a little bit of tweaking we think. And at this stage, nothing on the priorities list outside of doing the live stream today can be checked off. At this stage, I'm planning to put some decoration down in this corner, or possibly a little picture. You might have seen that in some of these previous layouts, I have some gaps, and that's because I've got some photos on my phone that I want to print off and stick in there. But because I want to print them on sticker paper, I'm going to save them up and print them all at once so that I can use the most amount of space on the sticker paper possible. I don't want to waste any of it when I could, fit more pictures into those gaps. As said at the bottom of my to-do list for today though, I do need to go back and fill in my start of month pages because they're not fully set up for the month. And normally at this point in time, given the fact that it's the second week of using these layouts, I would already want to have this filled in. In fact, I'd kind of want it to be filled in before I even got to the month, but because it's the first week of the year, or now second week of the year, and we're just kind of getting over the holiday busyness, Vlogmas and all of that kind of thing, I just haven't had the bandwidth to come and fill it in, but I do want to do that now. In terms of my actions list, I'm going to be taking points from my goal plans, so looking through each of the different goals that I have for the upcoming period, for this month or this quarter, and considering which action steps in particular I want to do this month. So in this 4-week period, what do I want to do? Those ones will get transferred to this list. Some of those will also be around routine building. So any of the routines or habits that I'm trying to build, those will go over here rather than individual actions that I'm just going to do once and then check off of a list. Because my goal planning pages are a little bit more personal, like the reasoning behind my goals and maybe even some of the action steps might be the kind of things that I want to keep as just for me pages. I've just got my journal off camera and I'm transferring the relevant things into my notebook. For the tasks though, this is just a brainstorm of anything I want to do in the month that isn't related to my goals, and projects are kind of like projects are things that could be goals, they're kind of multi-step processes, but I haven't set them as formal goals for quarter one. I still need to find out what other novel holidays are happening in January and think about whether I want to celebrate them. but I'm feeling a lot better that this is filled in now. I do have a little bit of extra space for tasks if I want to use it, but after this we have my monthly log, which also needs some filling in. This is mainly just checking off anything that's happened and adding in any additional events that have come up since I first filled it in, including writing in video content that's either coming up on the channel or has already been released. That one's looking pretty good for now. Sadly, we did get a little bit smudgy, but it doesn't bother me so much. It's an annoyance, yes, but I'm not going to go in and like cut out a piece of paper and redraw this in just so that it looks perfect. Realistically, I'm going to use this layout for the next 3 weeks and then I will very rarely come back to look at it. So I don't think I need to spend the time fixing it. We can instead flip over to my life admin point tracker. Now, while there is data filled in on here, and currently we're on the 6th, I could go and fill the points in, but I've been doing a system where I wait until the end of the week and then fill it in. Mainly because I'm not necessarily the best at remembering what I did on any given day and what points I accumulated from it. So oftentimes, at least 1, maybe even 2 days after the fact, these numbers have a tendency to change. So I'd rather wait until I was very sure about what had happened and then go fill it in after the fact. We can go fill in these 5 though, because they are all 1-pointer tasks that happened yesterday. So effectively, each of these little segments represents some kind of task that I've done for my game, and then depending on what color they are colored in with indicates how many points I got for doing them. So any of these little boxes that's filled in with pink, that is worth 1 point. Any that are in brown are worth 3, and any of the ones in green are worth 5. At the end of the month, I'll total up my points and then put them into this box here. And I probably could, maybe should have included a color for any projects that I did. I've just gone in and put them in as 5-pointer tasks. So if it's a 5-pointer project, that's 1 box. If it's a 10-pointer, that's 2. And if it's 15, then that's 3. This is mainly just to see a visual representation of when in the month I was earning my points. And notably, I kind of busted straight out the gates for the first 2 days and really got heaps of things done and then kind of eased off for the rest of the week. It'll be interesting to see if there are any kind of like cycles in terms of my completion of tasks, when throughout the course of the cycle I am doing more. But after this one, we are then on to my work outputs layout and of course my January bingo, though I don't have anything to color in here. What we can check off though are the things that have happened on this one. So the welcome post has been done, we can check that off. The simple setup video has been finished, so we can check off all the tasks related to that, and also the reading journal migration video. The live for today was around make time, so we can put that in, and also check off that it has happened. The rating system video we have done some steps for, but not all of them. And similar idea for Monica's flip through video. A week in my journals, we technically have started, so I guess the pages are ready and we've started filming, but we haven't finished filming. We still have a lot of a week left to go. The rest of these though, nothing to check off just yet. And then after this one, we have my project pages, which I need to fill in, but I'm not gonna do them right now. I think that might be a task for tomorrow me. The next layout though is a January in review, so definitely don't need to use that one just yet. And then we're into the weekly and daily pages, of which I've already filled in for the day. When it comes to my daily checking in of my journals though, this isn't the only journal I have that gets a daily check-in. I also have my 5-year journal. This one has a space for each day of the year for 5 years in a row, and it just has a 3-line space for me to write down stuff that happened. These could be little wins, memories, could be things that weren't so great or things I want to improve on. But out the side here, I have a little key for myself so I can see the different symbols that I use to represent the different types of information. Because I keep this one by my bed and I don't typically want to keep my dot markers in my bedroom, I just keep a black pen. I oftentimes don't fill in the little symbols until the end of the month, where I go through all of the entries, put in the dots, and then also put the symbols over the top. Because the entries in this journal can also be kind of personal, you know, this is effectively like a play-by-play of my daily life, we're not going to showcase it in the rest of the video, but just know I am checking in with this one every day, and it happens at the end of the day. This is the last thing that I do before I go to bed at night, and that's why it lives in my bedroom. By having it somewhere I know that I will be at the very end of the day, it means it's easier for me to build that routine. So I know the process is get into bed, whip out the journal, write down my thoughts, and then go to sleep. For today though, we're just going to write my entry together, so using up the 3 lines on the January 6th space to jot down the things that happened. The things I noted down is that we had our first live stream for 2025, which was a make time tactics menu. Vogel and I tried a new recipe, which was Moroccan chicken. While the chicken was quite nice, we decided to add sweet potato, which neither of us typically eat, so that was kinda iffy. The chicken though, very good. And I also stuck to my work boundaries by making sure I didn't go and finish off the video that wasn't quite finished. Normally I would just work after dinner on this video until it was done, but I was proud of myself for making sure I stuck by the boundary I set for myself. Now as those ones are in though, I'm going to be putting this journal back beside my bed. We won't see it for the rest of the week, but in terms of the journals we did use on day 1, we have the everyday journal, the goals journal, and the 5-year journal. Good morning, the new day is here and thus it is time to do an AM check-in. Typically the start of the day is just so that I know what I'm going to be doing today. So mainly just taking a look over my daily log, anything I've already written down, and adding in any additional things that I've thought of either overnight or here in the moment that also need to get done today. Tuck the elastic in the back so it's out of my way, and otherwise it's just adding to this daily log in kind of like a brain dump fashion. Not too much more to add to this list, but what I'll also do is go through any of my entries from yesterday's daily log and just make sure that they have been checked off if they're completed, crossed out if I'm not going to do them anymore, and sometimes I'll migrate them to the current daily log, but oftentimes if they're on the same page like we have here, I'll just leave them. I can still see them while I'm working on today's daily log, so I don't typically feel a very big push to rewrite those tasks. In terms of the priority for today, it's mainly going to be in the morning and it's just kind of catching up on work, so I'll put in a work catch up. And I can also check off that I did write my letter to myself yesterday. I didn't end up putting it on the daily log, but it did get done. Sometimes I will go and add in an item after I've already done it, mainly as kind of like a record of achievement. But given the fact it was on the priorities list already, right here on the page, I'll just check it off. Also, I don't have any extra room in that column. For now though, I'm going to leave this one open on my desk and get to doing my work today. One of the traditions that we have is that every week we have one evening, either Tuesday or Wednesday, which is designated as Bujo night. Typically we either call this Bujo Wednesday or Bujo Tuesday. This week it fell on a Tuesday, and so as part of that, me and my friends just get together, we do some intentional journaling time together, hang out. So I decided to take it as an opportunity to work on a project in my long-term collections journal. This is a journal for, funnily enough, long-term collections, things that I think are going to last me probably a year or more, and I thought it was a good opportunity to fill in a page that didn't have all of its details in yet. This one in particular was the Atomic Habits reference that we have here. This is something that I had in a previous notebook, but I wanted to bring it into my new long-term collections journal, so just jotting down all of the kind of takeaway points from that book, so I have a reference of it in this journal. I've got a similar thing a couple pages back for Make Time. We did this one on the channel yesterday. Still got a bit to fill in here, but that is not a project for right now. Right now we want to do the PM check-in. That means grabbing out my everyday journal again and flipping to my current daily log so that we can cross off anything that's been done, wrap that one up, and then start the next one for tomorrow. In terms of things that did not happen, I didn't end up scheduling my day because my day got kind of a little messed around. I had the meeting for Epic in the morning, so we can check that one off. And the accountability post got done yesterday, but we were supposed to go to Scotty's for Bujo Tuesday and ended up just hanging out at my place instead. Not too sad about it, we still had a good time, but a week in my bullet journal filming, well, we're doing that now, so we can cross that one off. And then we have the December 5-year journal summary. I did not end up doing that. I was gonna do it after my Atomic Habits reference, but then we ended up just sitting on the couch and reading Fourth Wing together. We're trying a buddy read for this week and then doing Iron Flame next week to kind of like get prepared for Onyx Storm. But because I do like to fill in this little bit of extra space I have, I'm gonna write down 2 other things that I did today. Technically only one of these is the thing I've done, the other one is just a little note. I like to include notes in my daily logs with exclamation points rather than dashes, mainly because a dash in my system means a task has been cancelled. In the original bullet journal method, Writer Carol scratches out a task completely. I find that to be kind of messy, and I'm a little bit precious about my journal, so I prefer just to use a regular dash to say that task isn't being done, and an exclamation point to say this is a note. Rather than starting Wednesday's daily log here, I think I'm going to put in a piece of decoration, just using the PET tape again, mainly because I think it'll balance the page nicely, being in this top corner and this bottom one. This is just a PET tape from the washi tape shop, so the nice part is we can lay it over, find a piece that fits appropriately, and then cut that one out and stick it in. In terms of this bottom corner here, what I'm thinking I'll do is add in a little picture from the week. I might just take a picture of the book that we're reading or something like that. But flipping on over, this is where I'm going to put in Wednesday's daily log. As per usual, this just involves the sticker header, the second line highlights, and then the little dot to signify my daily highlight, or that main focus, main thing that I want to get done on that day. There's not too much at this stage that I know I want to do tomorrow, other than maybe just like general work kind of tasks. So I can put in that my main focus is going to be video content. But in terms of the specifics of that, we have Monica's reading journal flip through, which I still need to edit, upload, schedule, and then promo, which is effectively just posting in another place to say, hey, I have a post. And then I also want to make a plan for Saturday's video. Another very important thing is that tomorrow is bubble bath day, so I want to have a bubble bath, but other than that, I don't have anything that comes to mind. Of course though, this list will get more entries tomorrow. Flipping back though, so that we can make sure all of my monthly pages are updated, we can check off an action item from my actions list, because I did notify the community of my boundaries that I'm trying to keep with work, and I've started making the 2025 budget, but I haven't finished it to the extent where I want to check this off. The rest of these items haven't been done. I have booked my dentist appointment, but the rest of these are not yet completed. In terms of my 52 and 52, I have written my letter to me for next year, and I have reached level 1 in all of my different life areas, so that's also kind of exciting. The rest of those aren't finished yet, so looking at my monthly log, we can check off the things that happened today. So we had Bujo Tuesday, had writing time, editing time, my epic meeting, the newsletter went out, or rather is going to go out because it goes out at 11 PM my time, and the exclusive video came out as well, which was about my rating scale. We can also add in that tomorrow is going to be an editing day, not so much a filming day, just editing and maybe some planning as well. I don't always add these kind of like work descriptors onto my monthly log, but sometimes it can be helpful to see when I was doing certain things. I also didn't check off anything from Sunday, so we should probably check those ones off as well. And we need to add some colored dots to those, just to indicate that they are indeed separate entries. Flipping over though, the next layout we have is the life admin point tracker. I'm not going to fill this one in until the end of the week, mainly because even at this stage, I'm still making little tweaks to my system, making sure that the amount of points that I'm giving things is actually appropriate for how difficult I find them or how long they take. And also I'm still getting into a groove with remembering to write down the things that I've done to earn myself points. So often I have to come back after a specific day and add in extra things as I remember that I did them. It's taking some getting used to, but I am still really enjoying it. But flipping over, we then have the bingo board, which we can fill in that I wrote my letter to future me. The way I'm doing this is just by highlighting the outside border of the box using one of my tombos, so being very careful not to go outside the lines. This also just means turning my journal into an orientation that's going to be more comfortable to put those lines in with. Tomorrow I'll be celebrating a novel holiday, but the rest of these aren't done just yet. Thinking about my work outputs though, the exclusive video post went up, so that one we can check off. And then the video itself got done, but I actually ended up switching it with the rating system one, so I'm going to check off the rating system video, because that's technically the descriptor for the video that went up. Although this one says exclusive, I'll probably just write in the video title that is the video that isn't exclusive and just check that one off. As long as I've got a space to check off that it's getting done, I'm pretty okay with it. We can check off that week 2 posts for the newsletter went out, so all of those tasks have been done. And also for epic goals, so check those ones off too. And then in terms of the next page, this is my project layout for this month, and I want to fill this in tomorrow. I'm gonna make that kind of a priority for tomorrow as well. So I guess I should probably flip through to my daily log and add that in to make sure that it does get done. So fill in project pages. Typically for my evening check-in, at least at my desk, this is the only journal that I check in with. I also have my 5-year journal, which I check in with at the very, very end of the day in bed. But sometimes what I like to do is also check in with my yearly collections journal. This is mainly because I have some trackers in here that I do like to keep updated, mainly so I don't forget the things that I've done in relation to them. But as the name suggests, this journal is for my yearly collections, or things that track data across an entire year. I don't have anything to fill in on my main objectives page, but I can check off that I have reached certain skill levels in my life admin RPG game. So far I have achieved level 1 in all categories, so we can go and put a little check mark against all of those ones. And I have level 2 in insight, stewardship, and prosperity. Not too shabby. I won't know until the end of the month as to whether I've achieved character level 1, because these are monthly based levels. These ones I can level up at any time though. After this though, we do have my side quests for the year, and notably I have completed writing a letter to myself, so we can colour that one in. And we can colour in that I've reached level 1 in all of those different life areas. In terms of the dates that these happened, this one happened on January 6th. So I can write that one in. But in terms of when I reached level 1 for all skill areas, I'm gonna have to go and consult with my spreadsheet because I'm not too sure the exact date that happened, but I do at least have it colored in to say that it did happen. But flipping over, deferred missions. I have finally reset my old laptop. This has been on my deferred missions or future me problems list for like 3 years almost. Feels very good to have that one done. At this stage, there are no others in here that I've completed, so we can flip over to my mastery builder, or my 25 things to do 25 times in 2025. I can fill in that I did have a 1 litre water day today, so January 7th. This is in the skill area of vitality or physical health. Flipping over though, don't have that one. This one I have continued not to have fast food for every day of this year, which for me is actually a pretty big accomplishment, mainly because anytime I get like tired or I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I couldn't be bothered, my default is takeout. Even if we have easy meals at home, my default is still to get takeout. But that's another 2 days that we can add to this one, which is pretty exciting. I haven't done a proper mind unwind yet, and I don't really think that I've done reflection to the extent where I would call it a reflection session that I can put in here. So far I've had 1 dedicated day off, and I'm going to be planning another one for this week, but it hasn't happened yet. My personal knowledge management system I haven't made yet, so can't fill that one in. And I haven't recorded any particular skills that I want to build. I have a goal work session scheduled for next week, but I don't have one scheduled for this week. And in terms of home maintenance tasks, we've booked one in, but it hasn't happened yet, so can't really fill that one in either. You can see I've got some notes down for space decluttering, I've got some money saved, we haven't had a household meeting yet, so can't fill that one in. The budget was updated on the 4th, I probably would like to do that at some point this week, and we did have a live stream on Monday, and I'm going to put down a little descriptor of it as well. What I also like to record on each of these is the first instance of doing them, so this one happened on January 6th, and was our make time tactic menu. We haven't had any collaborations this year so far, but we will have some of those. I haven't attended any community events just yet, but we have had a social gathering because we had Michael's barbecue. This goes to show that despite the fact that I do this at the end of every week, or at least aim to, I still forget things sometimes because this was from last week and I have since then come in and updated this journal, but that's alright. Family time has already been recorded, dates with Vogel, we haven't had any yet. Novel holidays, going to be celebrating one tomorrow. And then in terms of new things tried, I've listed out 3 of the things I've tried, all of those being meals, but I did also play a game that was new to me, so I can write that one down as well. No mini adventures just yet, and I don't have anything to fill in for the statistics because we're not at the end of the month yet. Flipping over, the next layout we have is related to income and savings, so I have been filling in my savings as I've been adding to my account. I'm gonna wait until the end of the month to fill in the income tracker, mainly because I need to know what scale is appropriate, and I'll fill in the bar all at once. Nothing's been done in the homestead upgrades category, and then after this we have analytics, which I only record at the start or end of the month, effectively recording it on the 1st of the month and then the last day of the month as well. After this one though, the next journal to fill in is my 5-year journal, but that one happens in bed. So today I primarily used my everyday journal, my long-term collections journal, and my yearly collections journal. The morning is here and thus it is time for the morning check-in. I don't think I actually have that much to add to yesterday's list because this pretty much covers what I want to do today, but all the same, I still like to make sure I have a look at my journal and consider anything else that might need to be added here, even if realistically there's not all that much to add. One thing that I can add though is that I need to make sure I defrost my panini, otherwise I will not have anything for lunch. I can also note down that I'd like to put my journals away because after Bujo Tuesday yesterday, they're all just bundled up in my regular kind of carry bag, so put away journals. And I probably also want to schedule game time with Vogel because I think he thinks that we're gaming today, but I'm having my bubble bath. Of course, he can have his own bubble bath after me if he wants to. I'm just very much looking forward to the idea of having a bubble bath on bubble bath day. For now though, I'm gonna go and defrost that panini so that I can eat my lunch and then get started on editing Monica's flip through. Of course, as I do this, I'll leave my journal open on my desk, but need to go get to work. One of the things I did intentionally want to fill in today though were my project planning pages. I've been enjoying including these kind of themed pages in each of my monthly setups to give me an overall general project to work on for the month, or in this case, a couple of projects, one of those being the layout library, which is a channel membership perk, and this one I was just calling Setup for 2025, mainly thinking about my digital spaces and different documents I needed to set up, but as we can see, these ones haven't been populated. For both of these, I'm just going to go and fill in what I need to do in each of them. This one requires me to flip through a bunch of old journals and find different kind of like collections of layouts or topics that I set up layout ideas for, and then each of these columns means like take the picture of it, edit the picture so that it is actually easy to see what's going on there, the coloration looks good, that kind of stuff, and then upload them to the premium resource library. These ones though, they're just going to be checklists of stuff that needs to get done. To fill these in, I just put on a YouTube video so that I had something going in the background to keep me entertained, and brainstormed the different stuff I needed to put on here, or flipped through all of my old journals to find out what needed to go on here. I don't necessarily fill up all of the space in all of the sections, but at least these give me a starting point of the stuff that I need to do for each of these projects. Introducing these specific project planning pages to my monthly setups though has been one of the best changes that I've made in my journal over the past few months. It's just nice to have a dedicated space to collect all of the tasks related to these particular things I want to get done. By giving myself dedicated pages to break them down into a smaller series of steps, it not only helps keep me motivated to do the things, but also helps me better visualize the progress that I'm making. Sometimes by writing out too many steps, you can kind of look at the list and feel a little bit overwhelmed. I personally don't often find a long task list overwhelming. More so, I find it kind of comforting to know that I have flexibility in what I could possibly work on next. With something like the layout library, for instance, this is me going through all of my previous journals where I've made idea layouts and stuff like that we've shared on the channel previously, and writing out a kind of summary or collection title for each of those series of pages. For instance, all of the layouts related to habit tracking or teaching or monthly logs. Because I'm going to organize them into the layout library in that manner, it makes more sense to list them this way rather than listing out every page individually. Did I run out of space on this one before I got to the end of flipping through all my journals? Yes, I did, but that's okay. This gives me plenty of stuff to work on throughout the month. Some of these are definitely going to take longer than others because they just have more layouts that I have to photograph and prepare and upload. For instance, the B5 ideas, that's 50 different layouts, whereas something like a headers layout, that's just one spread that I need to photograph. I haven't indicated which journals each of these come from, but I can kind of tell from context which ones they're in, so it shouldn't be too hard to decipher, especially because some of the entries are the same as each other. But I am feeling good that this layout is now filled in, at least this one fully and these ones in part. There are some more steps that need to go in here, it's just I need to watch the instructional video first before I know what I have to do, and I want to do a little bit of research before I go and fill in any additional points on here. What I can do though, given we're here, is just cross off that one has been completed, and then we'll check back in at the end of the day. The evening check-in today is going to be a little bit of a short one because I'm feeling quite relaxed after my bubble bath. They're definitely not something that I do super often, so it was a nice little treat for myself. I can cross that one off. I haven't put away my journals. I haven't yet scheduled game time with Vogel. Oh, well, okay, no, we scheduled some, so I'm going to half cross it off. I think those plans need to be confirmed though. I did plan the podcast talking points. That's going to be recorded tomorrow, and I have a very loose schedule for tomorrow, so I guess I can cross that one off. I'll firm it up in the morning though. Vogel and I talked about having his family over for dinner. I did buy a spreadsheet template that I was looking at, and I haven't set my wake up alarm yet, but I'm going to do that before I go to bed. For now though, what I want to do is set up my daily log space for tomorrow, including the little header, the second line highlights, and also that little dot to signify which one my focus task is. You'll see I also throughout the day added this little ideas space. This is for a video series that I'm thinking about doing with just very small videos about kind of questions that people commonly ask on the channel. Things like how to do second line highlights in a way where they're kind of even, look fairly nice, and also about my regular cursive that I like to use for a lot of different headers that I do. Not these ones notably, but in other journals. But for now, I just want to do a little brain dump of stuff that I'm hoping to achieve tomorrow. There will definitely be more things to add in the morning, and I'll probably also need some extra space, but I'm thinking I might want to put a bit of decoration here and then continue the Thursday list underneath that, but I'm going to decide that in the morning. For now, while I remember though, I want to jump back to my self-care bingo board, or what I was just calling like my January bingo, and colour in that I did celebrate a novel holiday. That one of course being Bubble Bath Day, having my bubble bath in alignment with that. I essentially just ran myself a bubble bath, set myself up a movie on my iPad, and then watched that. Of course I managed to pick the most tense movie possible to watch with my bubble bath, so it wasn't necessarily as relaxing as it could have been. That was definitely a choice, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. While we're here, we can also check off that Monica's flip through video has been sorted. And in terms of this one, it's about goals, so I'm just going to call it goal getting. And I'll check off that the idea of it has been formulated, but the rest of the steps I haven't done quite yet. As said, keeping this one short though, because I'm pretty much ready to get into bed. But in terms of the notebooks I used today, it was really just my everyday journal and then also my 5-year journal in bed. Normally Thursday is my lowest energy day, so I usually don't try to pile too many tasks on for myself, mainly because I know I'll write this laundry list of things to do and then I won't actually do them, and that's quite demotivating. For some reason though, today I'm kind of like rearing to go. I feel like I want to get lots done, probably because I know my weekend is going to be very busy, and while I would normally work on the weekend, I am trying not to do that anymore, so realistically today I do have to get a lot of things done. You'll have seen as we've gone through, every so often I just secure the page here with this little clip. That's just to make sure that it stays down. It makes it a little easier to use the page. I don't have to do this all the time. It's just probably because this journal is new and I've got some stuff stuck in here, which means that it's sitting up at a kind of awkward angle sometimes. And because I'm at the start of my journal, I also like to support the journal with something underneath it. At the moment, I'm using an eraser, so that one just tucks in underneath there. As I mentioned yesterday, I do want to have a piece of decoration here, so I've gone and picked this one out. The odd thing is that I would feel like this piece should be hanging downwards, but then the bird looks really weird, so I'm gonna put it this way, just assuming that it's like swinging like a pendulum or something. Because I want to get this aligned carefully though, what I often tend to do is I won't pull the full backing off of this, I'll just pull off a part of it, so maybe just this kind of top corner section, and then using my scissors I'll trim away part of this, so that then there's going to be part of the sticker that's exposed, like part of it is sticky, but not the full backing of it, so it's a little easier to position where I want it and then secure it to the page. Having a look, I think about here looks pretty good. So once I'm happy with it, I can secure that corner down, and then I can just peel the rest of the backing off, so that then the rest of the sticker is stuck to the page. I also then like to go and rub it with the back of my nail to make sure it is fully stuck down. And it's always really unfortunate when you do this and then you realize, the positioning of that wasn't quite what I wanted, and then you have to pull it up. Thankfully that's not the case today. This will just give me some separation between my ideas section and the continuation of my Thursday checklist. I don't always do this, but I figured we don't have any decoration on this page yet, so might as well. And as said, because I have a lot that I want to get done today, I'm going to give myself quite a few lines, just lining those up with the ones I already have on the page. I used to be very much on a 2-month cycle of whether I would or wouldn't use these second line highlights, mainly because they do take a little bit of time. They add to the overall time taken to set up your journal and use it each day. So come the end of 1 month of using them, I would typically be kind of sick of having to spend that extra effort, and I probably wouldn't use them for the next month. For like the last 6-7 months though, I have been using them consistently. I just love the way they look. I like the way they add a bit of extra color to the page. I like the way that they make my task lists more readable. So I think it's kind of a style that I have bought into my system that's probably here to stay. I definitely know I'm gonna need some more space during the day, so I'm gonna put some lines in, but I won't go and add any entries to them just yet. Those ones will mostly just be there so that as I think of things throughout the day that need to go onto my daily log, I have a designated space already set up for them to go. Otherwise I'd have to do these daily highlights when I think of a task that needs to be added to the list. This is just a rough prediction of the amount of space that I might need, and then of course I can add more throughout the day if I do need to, but given my task list for today is here, here, and then will be there, I'm hoping it should be enough. As always, I'll leave my journal open on my desk so that I can add to things as the day progresses, but for now, it's time to go and do some work. Now we're at the end of the day though, time to check in again. I tried to use my Cricut this evening. I thought it was the right time to try and cut something on that, and I don't know what happened, but there's like connectivity issues or something, despite the fact it's plugged in with the cable that came with the machine. It's fine. It's not. I'm very frustrated, but hey, it does mean that we have attempt to use Cricut here, and now make a list of computer troubles. In terms of the other things that happened today, we can cross off that I did defrost the panini, thankfully, because otherwise I won't have lunch tomorrow. The buddy read pages are caught up on, all good. And in terms of this video, I've only started it, I haven't finished it. That's going to be a task I continue tomorrow, but we can check off that the overall daily highlight of working on video content happened. And I also emptied the dishwasher, so we can cross that one off too. When it comes to the little sticker headers that I've got in this setup, I just keep them all in this box because I only cut them out as I go. I could go through and cut them all out ahead of time, and eventually I'll probably get to a point where I do that, but there's quite a few here and I don't necessarily need all of them kicking around in the bottom of my project box, as I call it, mainly because then I'd have to sort through all of them and try and find it. It's a little bit easier to find the ones I'm looking for when they're all sunny side up and nice and easy to read. Grabbing out the sticker for tomorrow though and cutting that header to size, I can just stick that one down underneath the daily log that we had for Thursday and then put in the every second line highlight for where my daily log is going to go. You know, despite having started Thursday thinking I was going to get a lot done, you know, being very optimistic about the amount of energy I had and my ability to do the things on my list, coming to the end of the day now, I don't feel as accomplished as I would have liked to, but this is why I really enjoy bullet journaling, because I have a list of the stuff that I intended to do, the things I set out to do, and I can see that a decent chunk of this is crossed off. So even though I don't necessarily feel accomplished, this is like a record of achievement for me. It's just a way to tell myself, actually, you did do things and you can feel pleased with the progress you're making. What I want to do now though is put in my highlight dot and then write out my brain dump of things to do tomorrow. This is looking good for now. We can flip back and check in with my routine tracker because I have definitely been neglecting that. In terms of tracking my life admin RPG, that has been going well, so we can check those ones off. And in terms of scheduling my days, I have been pretty lazy about this, and I think that tomorrow that's going to be something that I kind of prioritize. So we're going to flip back to my daily log for tomorrow. We're going to put in schedule my day, and even though it's not technically the daily highlight, I'm going to put the little green dot over the top of it anyway, because it'll just draw my attention to the fact that this is something that's in particularly wanting to be done on this day. It'll just draw my attention to the task, so hopefully I get it done. But in terms of other ones, we have daily logging first. That has been going well. I need to find a better system for this though, because typically I like to daily log in my journal. My journal finishes its day in the office. I wake up in bed right next to my phone. So at the moment I've just been doing a kind of like rough daily log on my phone, but it would be nice to be able to write directly into here, so I might have to address that. No work post 6 p.m, that one has been going well, so we can check those ones off. And we did end up having our planned meal today, so we can check that one off as well. Bubble bath day happened yesterday, podcast recording happened today, and I have now made the 2025 budgeting document. Saturday's video I'm not quite finished with, so I can't check that off. And then flipping back, we can also check in with the monthly pages, starting with the dashboard. There's a couple things we can check off here, one being the budget for 2025. We also have investigating the reading journal video, that one's been done, and bubble bath day has been celebrated. At this stage I don't think there's anything else to check in with here, so flipping over, you'll have seen that I don't necessarily check in with my monthly pages every single day. Yes, it would be nice if I did, but that's not typically the case. I don't think of consistency in my bullet journal to be, I check in with every single layout every single day. Consistency for me is I check in with them as much as I need to, if that kind of makes sense. We can note down that podcast recording happened today though, as did editing, and tomorrow we've got a wedding rehearsal, and I'll also have more filming and more editing. And because admin was a big part of my day, I'll add that as well. Each of these then just gets accompanied by one of those green dots. By adding these things after the fact, I'm effectively making my monthly log like a record of what did happen, rather than a space to use for what's coming up. I kind of go between the two. Obviously we have some things that have been scheduled in advance, some of them not having dots. Gotta fix that up right now. But me and the monthly log have always had an interesting relationship, so as long as it's getting used in some capacity, I'm pretty happy. Flipping over, life admin point tracker, not filling this one in until the end of the week. And then we have January bingo. I haven't done any of these today, though we have scheduled our household meeting, so that one's coming up. I need to schedule a particular day for working outside the house, because if I don't schedule it, it's not gonna happen. Nothing to check off here, and nothing to check off here. But on this side, I have at least decluttered the documents folder of my OneDrive. Still plenty to do in that respect though. While I'm done with the everyday journal for now, another notebook I checked in with today was my reading journal. We haven't seen this one this week just yet. That's because I don't check in with it every day. This is more of an at my leisure kind of journal. So in terms of checking in with this one, I only really checked in with one page, that one being my pile of possibilities for January. You can see I have two little checkboxes here, the two stickers that I managed to figure out with my Cricut, because I watched this as part of my bubble bath and I read this at the very start of the year. I just wanted a little way to denote that yes, I had consumed those pieces of media, and I'm thinking I'll probably do something similar for this layout here, where I have my challenge pages. I haven't actually read any of these yet though, or played them, watched them, so can't check anything off yet. I was very proud of myself for making the little checkboxes, but I am a little bit annoyed that my Cricut didn't let me make more of them, because I have a full sheet of them printed out, they just haven't been cut out yet. That's a future me problem to figure out though, because next we need to check in with my yearly collections journal. In particular on this one, I want to check in with that mastery builder that we had the other day, and just filling in any of the things that I have accomplished since then. In particular, that will be my 1 liter water days, because anytime I get this, it's a big deal for me. So January 7th was the last one we filled in, but we also have the 8th and the 9th. I don't have anything to fill in here, and I'm just gonna flip through them and see which ones I do have things to fill in for. Keeping this layout updated last year was something that I did struggle with, so I'm making a more active or conscious effort to get in and fill it in as things happen this year. Not only does it mean that the information on the layout will be more up to date, but I'll also be able to better remember the things that I should be making note of in here, if that kind of makes sense. Like remembering, hey, you wanted to be logging things in your personal knowledge management system. You wanted to be having more social outings. You wanted to be saving more money. All of those kind of things. Only a couple to fill in, and I was thinking that I should probably figure out how I want to fill in this component of the layout. I know I went and put check marks down on that first page for my different levels, but I kind of feel like I want to do maybe a little colored dot or something like that, but I don't think I have a dot marker that's going to be the right color. That would mean coloring in the dots and making little circles myself, which I have technically done before in previous years. So if we flip back all the way to 2022, you can see all of these little dots I just did by hand. But I do like using my dot markers wherever possible. I just don't necessarily have a color that will work here. I do have a pale brown, but putting pale brown on top of the pale brown isn't super visible. I might need to think about that one a little bit more, so we'll close this one up for now. And that means in terms of my journals used today, we had my everyday journal, my reading journal, my yearly collections, and of course my 5-year journal that I check in with in bed. Given the busyness of my weekend, I have quite a lot to do today, so just a quick check-in for this morning. We have the list from yesterday, which I know I'm gonna need to do all of those things, but I of course also have some more things to add. Just like yesterday, I wrote this list while I was in bed just on the notes app of my phone, still looking for a better solution because I would like to just be able to write these things straight into my journal, but that does mean keeping my journal by my bed, which isn't the natural place that I would think to put that. Might just be a routine that I have to get used to, but I'll probably do a trial run of it next week. Some of the items on this list are carried over from previous days, so I made sure to put in some little migration arrows for those. But otherwise, this list is looking good, and it's time to get on with the day. It's time for the PM check-in, and honestly, today has just been a day. I am so ready for bed, so I already know this is going to be a short check-in. Realistically, just going through this list, checking things off, making sure that it's all filled in and up to date. I didn't get a good chunk of this done because my internet decided it was choosing violence today, which led to getting a new modem router and a whole bunch of kerfuffling, but it's fine. It's not fine. I'm very frustrated. We did the dinner food. That one is done. I have not called a computer repair person because I haven't really formally decided if my computer needs help. It probably needs help. I didn't end up doing any of this because I needed internet for it. This did get done though, so we can cross off all of the things related to the Saturday video, though it was certainly slow going given the whole lack of internet thing. Fixing the internet, at least for now, seems to have happened, so we'll cross that off. I hope that's not jinxing it. I'm going to check off the highlight today, even though I don't feel particularly ahead on work. I at least got done what I needed to get done with regards to work. In terms of some things we can write down and then cross off, mainly to fill space. I like it when it looks full. I like it when my daily log takes up the maximum amount of space that I've given for it, of course. So we can note down that we got the new router. I can also note down an email that I sent today, which I mean might seem a little bit silly to some people, like, oh my gosh, just one email. I like to think it was an important email. And I also helped some people with their spreadsheets for the life admin game. Now, Vogel and I are going to a wedding tomorrow, so I'm not really expecting there to be all too much to add to my task list, but I'm going to set up a small one just with a couple of points that I know I'll have to do. But I don't want to go and highlight too much of a section here because I probably won't need a very large task list. So for now, maybe just 3 lines. As we saw earlier in the week, I have been trying to leave some spaces to put pictures in, like little photos that I take when I'm going out and about during my day. So we had a couple of spaces here and then also one here. I'm thinking that I might try and get a picture tomorrow, not like of the wedding party or anything, but just maybe Vogel and I at the wedding. And I could probably stick that in here, but I'm not gonna leave a set amount of space for it just yet. I need to make sure I take the picture first. And then also, depending on the dimensions and orientation of the picture, leave the appropriate amount of space. The highlight for tomorrow is going to be have fun at the wedding. And in terms of tasks, it's mainly going to be about getting ready for the wedding, but one of them is going to be responding to comments because we have a video coming out tomorrow. Other than that, it's going to be wedding related stuff. We're also going to need a grocery list because Vogel will go and do the shopping on Sunday, which means I definitely need to pick my meal prep meals. I meant to do this on Thursday, but I got distracted and then I couldn't really do them today because we didn't have internet and I need to look up the recipes because pretty much all of them are new to me. So I'm actually going to move over picking my meals to tomorrow, put it on tomorrow's list so I can see it there. As said though, today has been a long day, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. And that means the only journal I checked in with today was my everyday journal and then also my 5-year journal when I got to bed. The internet appears to be much more stable today, which is nice, though it's also going to be kind of a weird day because I'm not going to be here for the majority of it. But flipping forward to today's daily log, wherever we've put that, I do have a couple more things to add because they've just come up this morning, though some of these have also been done, so I can cross those off. Responding to comments has happened. Wedding hair has started. Picking the meal prep meals and the grocery list have not been done, but they are a priority, so I'm tempted to put a little green dot on those as well. But we also have mod messaging, adding new roles in the server. You might have seen in yesterday's footage that I was experimenting with doing horizontal lines this way. It is definitely not my preferred, but I do like that I don't have to rotate my journal, so if I'm slow with it and if I'm careful, I can make them look fairly okay. I'm still trying not to add too many lines because I know it's not going to be a super long task list for today, or at least I don't expect it to be. We have to change the thumbnail on a video, and as part of that I also just want to do a clear out of my photos folder because it's getting a little bit full. By my photos folder I don't mean the whole thing, I just mean my camera roll for when I take thumbnail pictures because I don't necessarily delete them after they've already been used. So I'm just going to put in thumbnail in brackets. I also am going to put down the WWM or work with me tasks because I didn't do those yesterday, and it'd be nice to have those done today so I don't have to do it tomorrow. If I don't get time to do them though, I will just do them tomorrow. I've got 2 lines left just in case anything else comes up, and I do want to get into my work tasks mainly because I don't have a lot of time before I have to actively get ready for the wedding, but I do want to go and update my monthly log just because I want to put in a little kind of note here, I suppose, of just having internet troubles. That one isn't going to get a check mark per se because it's not like something I did, but I'll probably put it down as a little exclamation point so it's just like a note. For now this is looking okay, and I'm gonna go get started on these tasks or continue with them, and we'll check in after the wedding to see what got done. The wedding is all wrapped up now. It was a really lovely ceremony. I just love love. I like weddings because I like to hear about the love story, and I did end up taking a picture, so we're gonna put that one in here. Not a picture of like the bride and groom or anything, more so just a picture of Vogel and I at the wedding. In terms of tasks that got completed though, we can check those off. So anything related to getting ready for the wedding happened. So that one's nice and easy. And we can check off the parent task here. So like the nest, the parent. The grocery list is going to get pushed to tomorrow because we're both just so zonked. We don't really want to stay up much longer. Picking the meal prep meals has happened. We can cross that off. Mod messaging and adding roles is finished. I didn't get on to the work with me tasks because I didn't realize how little time I was going to have before we went to the wedding to get things done. I did notably write in their guest book, and I had a good time at the wedding, so we can check that one off as well. And then just adding in a task that I've already done to make this one nicely filled out. It's not necessary, I just like it when it's full. Underneath this, I'm going to be leaving 6 centimeters of space for the picture because the picture is a square and we've got 6 centimeters across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means my daily log would start here, which seems a little bit silly. So I might just find a piece of decoration like this that I can stick into the corner, and then I'll start Sunday's daily log on the next page. As mentioned earlier, I'm just saving up all of those pictures that I need to print off to stick into my notebook for when I'm going to be able to have a full sticker sheet. I don't like wasting any of the paper space on those, so I'll probably try and collate those on the Sunday and see if I can get a full sheet out of the things I need to print. For now, this is looking pretty good. We've got our blank space here for the picture. And I also think that I'll stick in another photo here because I don't really need to add more priorities to this list just for Sunday. And this is another nice square section, which means I'll probably stick in a piece of decoration here as well. But given that we're here, time to check off some routines. So yesterday, tracking happened. Today, I'm gonna leave my tracking till tomorrow. So we'll just put a dot for that. Scheduling the day, I did schedule today and yesterday, even though today's scheduling didn't necessarily line up perfectly with reality. Daily logging first happened yesterday, but not today. And then no work past 6 p.m. That didn't happen yesterday, given the internet issues and just, it was all a mess. And today, yep, no work past 6 p.m. We were out for dinner yesterday, in terms of like just kind of a pizzas in the park type thing, and then we had the wedding food today. And tomorrow we're going to be out as well, which I am very excited for. This is like my favorite restaurant. While we're here, we can also check off that the wedding gift happened and Saturday's video went up, but we're gonna leave journal use here for today, which means that in terms of notebook check-ins, we just had the everyday journal and then the 5-year journal. It is the end of the week now, and in particular the end of week 2, which means that we have my mid-cycle review happening today. This is where I just do kind of like a check-in, consider how my goal work is going, any kind of priorities that I haven't met for the month, do I want to prioritize those for the rest of the month, that kind of stuff. That is going to go here. We're going to put it in before my daily log. And the setup of this one is a little bit more in-depth than just a daily header sticker. We have some different sections that we need to be able to fill in. Prepping the journal for use, so putting on my little clip, slipping my little eraser under here so I have something to lean on. So we of course have the header, which I think will just fit along the top. And then we also have our little labels for the different sections. Need to cut all of those out and then consider where I'm going to put them on the page. The process of setting up and then filling in my mid-cycle review took about 45 minutes. This wasn't a process that I felt super rushed to do. I just took my time with it, put on some music, and let my thoughts flow. I find that these check-ins are so super helpful for making sure I'm re-motivating myself at the mid-month point, because this is typically where I start to slump in terms of my motivation, both in using my journal and also in getting stuff done. Primarily stuff related to my goals and other projects that I've set out to work on in the month. The first section that I put in is a section to specify what goals I've been working on. This is just a list of the things that I've specifically set aside as a target for this month in particular. And I also include a section for other projects. These are things that I haven't necessarily specifically targeted, but it's other stuff that I want to work on, whether it's this month or for the next few months. The distinction between these is really just intentionality. Goals are the ones that I've intentionally set aside as something that I want to work on, and other projects are typically things that just come up throughout the month. I might get to the start of the month after setting my goals and think, yeah, I really do want to do that this month as well. There's not necessarily a big difference in terms of the size of a goal versus a project. It's just whether I've decided ahead of time whether I want to work on it. The two sections that follow this though are accomplishments and wins. So an accomplishment is more like I checked something off my list, it was something I did, whereas a win is more like a milestone that I've hit. I'm considering wins to be more so outcomes that aren't necessarily just me doing something, but something that was external as a result, possibly, of me having done things. I like to start with these because I find that oftentimes I'm usually quite negative about how much I've gotten done, like, oh, I was really hoping I'd be more productive, or I wanted to do ABC, but I've only done A, or like whatever. By starting with looking at accomplishments and wins, it puts me in a more positive mindset for the reflection process as a whole, and I will end up thinking about the stuff that hasn't gotten done and the challenges that I've faced, but I just don't want to start off with that. Another section that I'm including is in progress, so this is for tasks that I've started with but they're not quite finished with, or parts of my goals and projects that I've at least initiated but they're not quite done. The section called neglected, on the other hand, is for things that have not been started, and I'm probably putting them off. By grouping my tasks into these different categories of accomplished, in progress, and neglected, I can start to look at patterns that might be emerging in those items. So are there particular things that are common between the stuff that I've been putting off? Are there commonalities or similarities between the things I've been able to get done? By thinking about this, I can start to try and tweak my action steps so that I have more chance of getting more stuff done in the future. I of course also want to consider any challenges that I've faced, not so much to dwell on them and get all negative and down on myself like woe is me, but more so just to acknowledge that they have happened, I've hopefully gotten through them, and also give myself an opportunity to consider whether any kind of tactics I tried or responses to those challenges were taking me in the right direction or the wrong direction. The last thing I want to put on here though is a brainstorm of the different things I might want to do in the week ahead or today. I just feel like I have a lot in my head right now, and getting it out onto the paper is going to be very helpful. Just turning the journal so that I can do lots of lines here, because doing it this vertical sense, or like, vertically aligned with the current camera orientation, that is much more comfortable for my hand than trying to do it horizontally. I did try. Some of them were a little wobbly, but at least I'm trying new things. This brain dump space was very much needed for this point of the week. I had a lot of things going on in my head and just needed to get them out on paper. I find this to be one of the most powerful self-care tasks that you can do with your journal. When you've got all of these thoughts or projects, ideas, tasks, whatever, swimming around in your head, your brain just kind of keeps them there, replaying over and over again because it doesn't want you to forget the things, whereas if you give it a designated space to write it down so that information is safe, it gives your brain a break. Some of these are tasks that I want to action today, whereas some of them are going to become future me problems or side quests. But by jotting them all down, I can consider which ones do need to be done today, which ones are the most pressing, the most urgent, the most important, and which ones can be left till later. That is looking like a fairly decent list, so I think what I'm going to do is put a little sticker up the top here. Underneath that I'll have the priority section. Once that's in, then I'll put in the before February, and if I have any extra space, then I'll fill that in with some decoration too. The PET tape that I'm using for decoration this month just makes the setup a lot of fun and also faster. If I had to fill in extra space with doodles and the like, it would take me a lot longer, and I appreciate that because there's a lot of different designs on the tape, I can pick whichever one fits for the space that I have. It probably would have been nice to add a little bit of decoration onto the left-hand side of this layout, but because this layout is primarily for function rather than just decoration, I'm okay with it just having a little bit in those corners, both the top right and bottom right. In terms of the priorities list, this is for anything goal or project related that I want to do before the end of the month, whereas the before February list is really for things outside of this. Yes, I want to get them done this month as well before the new month starts, but they're not so much goal or project related. I have a little bit of extra space on this list, but this is looking good. I love a full page. I'm feeling quite good about the brainstorm, or brain dump in particular, because all of this was in my head and now it's on paper, and I can start to sort through and figure out which pieces are going to be most pressing to get done. What I do need to do though is write my Sunday checklist, so for that one we're going to flip over and put that one right here. The check-in for this morning is a lot longer than the ones we've had previously, just because we're doing that mid-cycle review. But this isn't typical of every Sunday. Funnily enough, mid-cycle reviews only happen at the mid-cycle point, so I have one of these longer review processes roughly every 2 weeks. One for the mid-cycle and one for the end of cycle. Although they do take time, I don't mind putting the time in to do them because I know that they're really beneficial for the way that I'm planning. They're going to help me get things done, help me reassess my priorities, and I also find the process enjoyable, so I don't mind doing it. This is looking pretty good for now. Notably, this morning's journaling session was a little bit longer than previous ones, mainly because we were filling in all of this, and I know that I'm going to have to set up for next week today as well, so that's going to take a little longer. For right now though, I'd like to go and start actioning some of these things. So while the morning session is over, we are going to have an afternoon session. Our afternoon session is kind of becoming more of an evening session. I've actually got plans this evening, so I'm not too sure how much I'll get through, but I did want to see if I could maybe get set up for next week. And I did also manage to get my printer working, because with the whole internet being down thing, that also went out. But now as it's working, I managed to print off the pictures that I wanted to stick in here, and also some book covers for the reading journal. I don't need all of those covers right now, but the pictures at least I can put in amongst all of my other bits and pieces. While I could cut these out on my Cricut, or at least in theory, because my Cricut is also having some troubles, I just tend to use scissors, mainly because they're just squares or just rectangles. It's not really too hard to cut them out. If it was anything more fiddly, I'd be more inclined to use the Cricut. But that being said, I still also cut all of my headers by hand too. In terms of the pictures, we have celebrating New Year's Eve, we have going over to my parents' place and their temporary placemats, doing some meal prepping, Vogel and I at the wedding yesterday, and then also Vogel showing off our new vacuum cleaner. So none of those are actually going on this spread. We're gonna need to flip back and find the layouts they belong on, starting on the first kind of space for the new year. And this picture is designated to go here. I think they look quite neat. I don't usually put little photos from everyday life in amongst my daily logs, but I'm trying it out for this year, or at least the start of this year, and so far I think it looks quite nice. I think it's also just a nice reminder for myself that they don't have to be really huge moments. Like, yes, this was New Year's Eve, which is kind of like a typical milestone moment. It comes at this very set point in the year where we all kind of celebrate. But the celebration itself was just like chill hangouts with friends. Flipping forward though, I do have a couple of things to check off here. Mainly that the meal prep has been done, which means that I can also check it off of the daily highlight. Personal prep for dinner has been done. I'm like ready to roll out. I started a conversation about Bujo Wednesday. I haven't gotten very far with it. But in terms of setting up for next week, I think I might do this here, which is a little bit different to what I usually do. Normally I'll stick it either on one side or the other of a spread, but I thought it might be a good opportunity to try something a little different. So if we have the week 3 header, we've got priorities, meals, and routines. Now realistically, I'm not keeping track of all that many routines, so I think I could almost tuck that down here. But for priorities and meals, I kind of want to expand on the meal log, or meal tracker. I don't know, which one is it? It's more like a meal plan, and then I check off whether I've done it. So I guess that would be like a meal tracker, because it's predetermined what I'm going to be eating. Week 3 will go up the top here, then maybe underneath that I'll have meals, so that should sit around here. And then as many lines as I need for meals, which should be 3 a day, so that'll come down to here. And then maybe underneath that I could put routines, I could put some decoration here, and then have my priority list over here. I think that'll work. Honestly, as long as they're all on the page and roughly in the same kind of location, I'm pretty happy with whatever. The meal sticker I'm not going to stick down properly, because I want to put in the brown highlight before I stick it down, just because the S dips lower than the rest of the letters. And I might also make sure that I put those in before I put in the routine sticker, just to make sure it ends up in the right place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Excellent. Then meals can go where it's supposed to, and routines can go at the bottom there. We might actually end up taking a picture out at dinner tonight as well, so I could put that in this bottom left corner as well. That'd be kind of nice. The reason we're going out for dinner is because it's my mum's birthday, so it'd be good to have a picture of that. This is actually the first birthday I've been able to spend with her in many years, just because previously she lived in a different country. We can put in a column down the side to check off whether I ate the meal that I planned. And that one did go a little bit cattywampus, so I might just use a little bit of this sticker that we have on the side here, you know, just from the sticker labels that I print my stuff on. And I can just stick that along here so it masks the mistake that I put onto the page. That looks a lot better. It might not be quite so noticeable on camera, but it's definitely noticeable in person that it was very off, and that does look better. Even though I can see the white sticker, it blends with the page well enough that it's not really a problem. I'm gonna leave this spot open for a picture just in case we take one. And then for routines, the ones that I was tracking this week were tracking my life admin gamification tasks, scheduling my day, daily logging first, and not working after 6 p.m. I think I might add a couple more items onto there. I just haven't solidified which ones specifically I want to include. So I'm going to fill up this entire space for routines. Anything that doesn't get used, I'll stick a piece of PET tape over the top, you know, one of these decorative pieces. So it'll kind of look like the routines tracker dips into the decoration. While we've got it this way aligned, I'll also go and add in my priority space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I don't necessarily know at this stage how many priorities I'm going to want to record, so I'll just put in some lines. That should be plenty. Just fixing up this one because it got away from me a little bit. I'm not too fussed about it coming into the line above it here, because once I go and fill this with text, it won't be as noticeable. The one that we had here though, that one wasn't going to have any text over it, so it would have stood out a little more. Gonna add in some headers to the routines tracker, so just tasks and then the initials for each day of the week. And I'm also going to go and specify that these are for breakfast, lunch and dinner for each day of the week. At this stage we do actually have our meal plan done, so I can go and add those in as well. I might just add a little hyphen after each of these, so it kind of separates the initial for the day, or rather the initial for the meal, and what we're actually going to be eating for that meal. Each of the breakfasts are going to be the same though, because I did my meal prep, and that is going to be stewed fruits with yogurt. And then for lunches, after the smoked chicken panini, which is a leftover meal prep from this week, then I will be having chicken cashew stir fry. I did just remember I don't actually have a full week of those though. I've only got 5 days, so I've written chicken down for Saturday and Sunday, but that's okay. Maybe I'll figure something else out that also has chicken, or I'll just put a white sticker label over it. No problem. Actually, given that I have 5, I should be able to at least make it to Saturday, and then Sunday I'll have to have something else. But that's still looking pretty good. We can at least half cross off that I've set up for week 3, because I haven't filled in my priorities list, I haven't listed out my routines just yet, but I did just hear my parents pull up. So, looks like it's going to be time to go to dinner. The end of the day and thus end of the week are here now. Dinner was so good, I am so full, and of course now as I'm very well and truly full, I am very well and truly ready for bed. Having a look at today's checklist though, we have transferred the photos off my phone, printing the journal pictures happened, going to dinner notably happened as well, and the tasks associated with that. I still have to sort out the stuff for my work with me tomorrow, so I'm gonna have to do that before I go to bed. And the space down here I'm gonna leave open for a picture that we took at dinner to say like, hey, we celebrated together, which was kind of nice. So the Monday checklist I'm gonna put over here. I think that should be enough space for the priorities. If it's not, it means I probably have too many priorities. So we'll just shove this one here, which means that Monday's space is pretty much ready, just needing some second line highlights so that it is well and truly ready to use. While that means that the stuff for week 3 is effectively ready to go, I do want to make sure that I go and kind of round out week 2. So flicking back to the stuff that we had for the start of the week, I did populate my dashboard as fully as I wanted to have it populated. And in terms of my task tracking, we did the tracking of the life admin gamification, scheduling my day. I mean, technically I did schedule it, so I'll give it a check mark, even though that's not really what happened. Daily logging first didn't happen, and no work post 6 PM. I don't think I can count that because I am going to have to go and organize those work with me things. I'm going to decide in the morning as to whether I want to carry these priorities over to next week. We can check off that we did indeed go to Wildfire, delicious food. And then flipping back to my monthly pages, just to make sure that we've got all of those accounted for. I don't believe I have anything to check off here just yet. I mean, technically the 2025 budget has been made, so I can check that one off. But the rest of the stuff either isn't check-offable, or it's not been done at this stage. So flipping over to the monthly log, we can check off the things that happened both today and yesterday, and also the day before it seems. And then for our next layout, this is my admin point tracker. So now as we're at the end of the week, I feel like things have kind of settled down enough that I can fill in how many points I got on each day, just using the pink pen for any 1-point tasks, brown for any 3-point tasks, and then green for any 5-pointers. I've been keeping track of what things I've been doing for my life admin gamification in my Excel spreadsheet. That way I just had to go through what I'd logged for each of the days of the week and transfer that information onto this layout. Actually, pretty soon into the piece, I got kind of sick of counting how many 1-pointers or 3-pointers I had, So I just put in some little formula to help me out, effectively going through and saying, if this date, then count if this number. So count up how many 1 pointers or 3 pointers or 5 pointers we had on day 6, day 7, day 8. I have actually been enjoying my life admin gamification so much, and it's been quite impressive to see how it has incentivized me to do things that I typically wouldn't do. Like for instance, drinking water. I have drunk so much water this month compared to previous months. Most of the time it's, quote, only a liter a day, but considering I wasn't drinking any water in the form of water prior to this, that's quite an achievement. A similar idea with incentivizing myself to take time off in the evening. That's been really nice as well. The thing about this tracker is that it doesn't necessarily give you the best indication of points, given the fact that all of the green tasks are worth 5 times as much as the pink tasks. So even though this bar is the tallest, it's not necessarily the day that I earned the most points, but I still like the visual aspect of it. I think it looks kind of cool. So flipping over, nothing to check off here apart from the video yesterday getting done. I can also note down that this live stream doesn't need editing, as per this one will also not, and this one also won't. Nothing else to check off at this stage though, and then after this we're into the project plans, which don't have anything to check off either, and then after that it's essentially into all of my daily logs and such. But I do want to check in with my yearly collections journal and check off some things in there. Mainly thinking about that mastery builder layout again and what needs to be written down so that I can keep accurate records, because if I don't write them down in a fairly timely manner, I will probably forget that they've happened. I'm just realizing now that I wrote January rather than January. It's fine, I know what I meant. I was just wondering why the line was getting a little bit shorter in this one compared to the previous ones, but January 10th and January 12th can be added to this one. Nothing to add to that one. I do consider January 11th to be a day off. There was enough percentage of the day to be not work time for it to count. Also spelt that one wrong, but again, I know what I meant. No fast food day, we can count January 12th. We did do a mind unwind or brain dump as part of the reflection session for the mid-cycle review, so we can put January 12th for that one as well. And also add it into this first slot here because it is the first entry. Reflection got done today, we can add that one in. And then flipping over, nothing to add to these ones. Or these ones. I did update the budget today though, none of these. We did have a community event, and we'll add that into the first slot as well. We had family time, and then flipping over from that, nothing to add to these ones. That's all for this journal at the moment, but I do want to jump back into my everyday journal to update my start of journal collections. Nothing to update on the timeline, so we can flip away from that one. We can color in the box to say that the wedding happened, and no other events to add here just yet. What we do have is thinking about the reward system, or the levels that I've leveled up in the reward system, and also the projects that have been done as part of that. So making the budget, we have done that one, we can color that in, whereas the other ones haven't been started just yet. I do definitely have to come back in here at some point and add in some more projects, because I think I have a couple more that I haven't included. I have reached level 1 in all of these skill areas though, but I can't quite remember what date they happened. Technically speaking, I don't have a space in here to record the date that they happened, but I thought it might be nice to maybe tack it onto the end. I'll have to go back and consult my tracker to see when those things happened, but I can color in the first box for all of these. At this stage, some of these actually have been leveled up further. So initiative is at level 2, gaiety is at level 2, charisma is technically actually at level 3, prosperity is at level 4, which is a lot more ahead of schedule than I initially anticipated. Insight is at level 3, stewardship is at level 2, and then flipping back, we also have vitality at level 2. So far only spirit hasn't been leveled up past level 1, and character can only level up once per month. Given the fact that prosperity is already at level 4, and that was kind of expected to take at least a month to do, if not maybe like almost a month and a half, I might have to address that, but I'm not sad about having more points accumulating in that area. That's nothing to snub my nose at. After this though, we then have leisure and fun, don't have anything to fill in here, and then after this we have my meal prep log. This one I need to fill in what meals I did this week, so that would be stewed fruits. And for lunches, I did a cashew chicken stir fry. The stewed fruits was new to me, so I'm gonna add that over here. And the date made was January the 12th. That one I'm having as a breakfast, but technically it could be done as a snack, so we'll put 2 little X's in there. And then in terms of the smoked chicken panini, I really just consider that to be a lunch. I wouldn't really have that as a dinner. Snack, there we go. Better. The apple oatmeal bake, I again had it as a breakfast, but it could technically be a snack, and we can cross off that those have been made. The idea initially was to add ideas of things that I want to make and then cross them off as I made them. So I'm working with this one a little bit backwards, but it's fine. And then in terms of color coding these meals, anything that's a favorite needs to go in pink. So that would be the yellow curry in particular. And I also quite liked the cinnamon apple muffins and also the apple oatmeal bake, and I do really like stewed fruits, so we'll put that in as well. Whereas the smoked chicken panini is more of a would make again meal. I'm not sure about the cashew chicken just yet because I've only ever made it to eat on the day, so I want to see how it reheats. Looking good though. After this one we have the Bujo night and family happenings. So this one did happen. O is for other in terms of location because that was like out and about. And then for Bujo night this week I made chicken wraps. Well, technically Bogle made it, but it was at my house. That kind of counts. We're supposed to be at Scotty's next week, but I just want to confirm before I write that one down. We then have the work schedule, which doesn't need any updating. And then after this we're into the monthly pages, which we already updated. Well, that's all I need to fill in with my everyday journal today. Thinking about the ones that I touched throughout the week, we of course had the everyday journal. We had a couple instances of the yearly collections journal. Every day I did get in and fill in my 5-year journal, just not on camera. And I also did some work in my long-term collections journal. The goals journal was used, but didn't really appear on camera because it's a bit more personal. And I also did just a little bit of work in the reading journal. Obviously these aren't all of the journals in my lineup. We didn't have anything from the swatch book, the health journal, the R&D notebook, but that's just because those journals didn't need to be used this week. Not all of my journals require an everyday touch, but on other weeks those journals would get used. To see more videos like this where we go through how I use my journal lineup in a regular week, this playlist is the next one to check out. That one has all of these types of videos we've done previously on the channel, so you can see how this process looks a little bit different on a different kind of week. Click or tap on that one and I'll see you over there.